Hello everyone, this is Bisma Majid. I am a software engineer and entrepreneur, and I'm currently working as an AI automation and solutions architect at a Silicon Valley based startup called Answer AI. So, one of the biggest challenge that many business leaders, managers, founders, and CEOs are currently facing is because of their packed schedules, they are unable to get the summary or get the idea of every meeting that was done within their organization. It could be a sales call, it could be a client discussion meeting, it could be a one on one meeting with some of their partners or investors or anyone. But because of their busy schedules, they are not able to, number one, be a part of every meeting, and number two, have a detailed idea of what exactly was being discussed in that meeting. So today I'm very excited to share with you a workflow that our team has developed at Answer AI. It's meeting categorizer. For example, it could be Zoom Meeting Categorizer or something. Like it can also integrate with Google Meet and all of the other channels. But right now, for this specific video and for the ease of understanding, I will stick to Zoom. So, one common and biggest challenge that we have faced with a lot of enterprises and a lot of busy managers, CEOs, and company founders is there are tons and tons of meetings going on within their team, and they have absolutely no idea how to keep a track on all of those. What was discussed in specific meeting? What are the next steps? How can we take action in the coming days, or something like that? So with this workflow that I'm just going to share with you is it is going to record every Zoom meeting, and after every recording, using the transcription of that Zoom meeting, what we can do is we can do tons of creative stuff with just that transcription of the meeting. And I'll just show you how it's possible. But there are so many areas how we can do that. So because it is nearly impossible for them to catch up on every meeting, it often leads them to missing out on key information and key discussions and decisions that were made during. It can also lead to spending hours in follow-up conversations with team members and decision makers and all of that, like who led the meeting, what was discussed, what were the outcomes, what is the summary, who made any controversial comments, or were there any issues raised by the clients, the investors happy. So there are a lot of discussions that are done during those meetings. And because of the after COVID, because of the remote nature of almost every single organization, almost 95% of companies around the world are using Teams, Microsoft Zooms. So that is why all of those meetings can be recorded, and using the power of their transcription, we can do tons of stuff with it. All of this time could be better spent on strategic thinking, making better decisions, and other high priority tasks. But what if there was a way to automate the Zoom recordings, videos, and transcriptions, and you can have a structured summary of every single person within your company that did that meeting or led that, and you can have a structured format of every single thing summarized, what was discussed, who the participants were, what's the summary, action point, key steps, issues, conflicts, all of it in just one screen. And the best part, no human communication. So now that I have your attention, let's get into the technical details. Right, so this is the basic database that will look when we will be using this Zoom Meeting Categorizer, and this is one of the solutions for organizational data management. And this is what you can expect after using all of this workflow that I'm just going to share. So let's first see what is happening here. Let's say I am on a managerial level and I want to see every meeting details that were scheduled within my company for the last couple of days, or a quick summary. So here I have the meeting date, exact meeting date, and in this column I will have the meeting transcript. Now it will be with like detailed timestamps and all of that, but just for the clarity of this tutorial, I have tried to explain, like, let's say one, this is the whole meeting transcript A to Z. It could be an hour long, 2 hour long, 3 hour long, so whatever as per your requirements, right? So for test data, I have got these meeting transcripts for 3 different meetings which were within the organization, and I have used 3 different companies' data for clarity and for explaining you how this workflow will be used. Right, so this is basically just one example. Like, this is Tech Innovate is a company. It has I have tried to given exact data for the GPT to understand the context of overall what the company is, what its team members look like, and details about what their services are. So this is just one example. Let's say Tech Innovate is a mid-sized software company specializing in productivity tools and AI-driven solutions. Then I've added a little bit of context, like when it was founded, where is it now, and a couple more details. Similarly, I tried it for 2 more companies, just adding a basic intro, whatever they're working on now, what their goals are, And then in the next column, you will see that it will give me an info of who the team members were. So let's say if I've given it initially, while I'm building this custom GPT for my organization, I have given data about my team members. Let's say I have John Smith, who is the CEO and meeting facilitator. And then I've also added some details like Sarah, who is the head of product development, another one for marketing director, head of strategy, and all of that. So all of this data can be added previously. And when we will run this workflow, what it's going to do is it just using the meeting transcript, we will be able to get all of these columns filled. So starting from here, initially it will provide me with who the meeting participants were and what their role in the company is, which we are fine, like team members data. Good to go. Then it will summarize and categorize the meeting. Let's say after analyzing like this whole two meeting was related to what exact field, and now it has categorized it into this was related to product development, or it was a skill review meeting or anything like that. So quickly we can just see like, okay, this 2 hour long meeting is now being categorized as a financial review meeting. So we now have all the data in a structured and formatted way. Next, it will provide me a quick summary. So even if I was not involved in that 2 to 3 hour long discussion, I can quickly see that what was discussed. There's a new feature that will be being rolled out, and what we are planning for Q3, and all of that. And not just that, it is also going to provide me with what are the action steps that were being discussed in the meeting. For example, it was initially discussed that Sarah will be overseeing the bug fixes or testing the recommendation or making any finalizing materials, right? Similarly, it will give me data for all of these other exact meetings. And then at the end, I've added just any open questions that were left in the meeting. Let's say which needs to be discussed in the upcoming one, or which needs to be discussed internally if it was a customer meeting or something. So what is the timeline for full rollout? Are there challenges with Q3 priorities? What improvements are needed for mobile app performance? So we can see all of these open questions in this specific column. Let's see how I've created this workflow on Make. Make is an amazing automation tool, which is no or low code platform, and you can create amazing workflows through it. So I will give you a quick walkthrough of how all of these app modules and how the data is being mapped in each of the apps. But the most important factor in this overall workflow and for getting the results like these is Answer AI. This is the app that I'm currently using. So you can comment or let me know if you need access to this one. Okay, so this is the workflow that is being created on the backend. And I am using this is on Answer AI's end, this one, and I'm using this chat flow ID for creating me this one, right? So here is what is happening. This model is taking an LLM chain, which is large language model, and then it is using a couple of input parameters. Number one is a language model, which I have just given it like chat OpenAI. And I have given it 4O, connected my credentials, and then I am using an output parser, which is taking in like how do I want to structure the data in a JSON format. Here, I'm giving it a prompt, which is like you are an AI assistant tasked with categorizing and summarizing Zoom meeting transcripts. Then I've given it like your goal is to provide a comprehensive analysis of the meeting. It will take in the transcript and the company info, a couple of my team members' data, and based on that, this is the whole detailed prompt that I've given it. Like it will then do a complete analysis using the meeting transcript. And for the company info and team members, this is how I was referring, like this is how you can feed data into your AI agent, which will like whenever you want to run it, you do not have to give the data every time and give details every time like in case of ChatGPT. But in here you can just feed all the data at once and you can do lots of tests through it, right? This is the core basic principle which we call custom GPTs, where you are training the large language models on your own specific data. So let's say this is a simple basic module which is a plain text, and here you can give company review in between, like Technovate is something, it has been founded since couple years and all of that. So here you can add the company overview information. Here I've added clients information. Let's say if you're dealing with a couple of clients or a large database of clients, you can add all the database here and which projects you are working on. So when this overall agent will run and it will check for a meeting transcript, it will have all the information like, okay, this is a specific client that we had a meeting for, and this is the all the context, like these are the projects that we are working on. So it will then provide much more and better analysis of the meeting as compared to if you just ask ChatGPT to summarize the meeting for you. And here you can add details about your team members. You can add their roles, responsibilities, their emails, their details, and all of this info here. So which will help in, let's say if this was the meeting transcript, it can then, since it will have all the data of the team members, it can then exactly illustrate like, okay, this John means like John Smith, who is the CEO and whose roles and responsibilities are XYZ. So these are all the different variations, and how I'm using it in Make is basically this way. Right. So it's pretty easy. Do not overcomplicate it. I'm starting it out with a Zoom watch recordings module, which will take in your basic authorization connection. You just need to attach it with your Zoom account. And if you are building this workflow for your entire organization, one important step would be that make sure that the connection that you are building it with have the owner or admin rights, because other if that is done and that is mapped correctly, so if you are the owner, you are the admin, and you have connected your account, you will be able to fetch all the meetings that any of your team members have done. So after that, I have used an other app from the same Zoom module, which is make an API call, and what it is taking in is a URL, which is V2, which is the version. I mean, this is the technical jargon because they have shown the example here that you have to use this type of URL, which is then taking in the meetings, and we are trying to make this API call to get all of the details from this specific meeting. Let's say another important aspect for this to run is you do need to have a pro account on Zoom. You need to record your meetings on cloud recordings, and based on that, let's say if I recorded a meeting and as soon as I ended it and the recording was available for me to review, it will simply be triggered, and once that is triggered, I will then run this URL and this API call to get all the details of that meeting. Next, I have added a method called get, which is then taking in a key and a value, the content type, and the value is I have given it application JSON. So next, I'm using an iterator. It is simply taking in the recording files from this module. Here you can see this one. So right now, since it is all of this data, and this recording files will have multiple recording files. It would be an audio one, it would be a video file, it would be a transcript, and all of that data. So here the role of iterator is basically to take in an array and then process each of the files in that array one by one. So I've added a simple filter here that when the meeting file that you are processing is the exact transcript of the meeting, come on, next step would be to use that transcript and download it. So one important aspect that you have to realize here is that whenever we are trying to process data, let's say in case of this transcript file, if we want to send this data to other apps, we need to download it first. So that is like a prerequisite, or it will make your overall process smoother. So I've then downloaded this cloud recording, and here I've just added this timer, like just to delay for 10 seconds. And here I'm giving it the download URL. So again, this is a download a cloud recording module, and for download URL, I'm not giving it from this Zoom API call once. I'm giving it from the iterator download URL, which will be fetched that way. Right after then, I have divided all of this workflow into four scenarios. The major idea was like, if the meeting was an hour long, if it was 2 hour long or something. So that way I can simply make sure that if this meeting had reached a character limit of 10,000 characters or 50,000 characters, then it should use this route. This was just what I needed for my workflow. This is just an optional one. Even if you create just one flow, that would be more than enough. And I'm then adding all of this data into Airtable. But before that, the most important part, which is this one, and which is taking in all of this custom GPT data of your organization, is the important aspect here. So what it is taking is, it is taking the recording dot text input. We need to give in an input text prompt, and for that I am giving it this recording, which is in the binary form, which is the transcript of the file. But since it is in binary data, I have converted it into an actual textual format by using an extension with .txt. So that way it will generate the transcript data using the transcript data, and then I'm calling an agent ID, this same one, through this workflow, and when it will run, it will automatically return me what the meeting type was, what are the open questions, what are the action items, and all of this, right? And then I'm just mapping all of this data as per my requirements into an Airtable database. And then finally I am updating my team members, like if this meeting was conducted by you, you can simply it will give a notification and a link to a table database, like this is the meeting that you recently conducted. Here is the summary for you, please review, if you have any changes feel free to make them. So this overall workflow is becoming like super popular. It is very handy, and we can generate lots and lots of use cases just on this one. This specific tutorial was just for Zoom, but I will be creating more on Teams and Skype and all of those for the analysis. So for Answer AI, we are still in beta, and if you want early access, please drop an email on my ID or comment below, and I will provide you that. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.
Look very professional and in a proper format. I used a tool called Software. Software is used for building custom apps for your business or your organizations, and it really has the power to turn your spreadsheets or Airtable or any databases into very formatted, presentable applications. So you can create client portals, internal tools, and various features. So I simply created an account, and what I wanted to achieve with this is basically I created a simple internal team portal, and my goal was that each of these members, let's say whoever team member of the company was, if he was the host of that email, he should log into that portal and he must have access to all of the meetings that he conducted or he led or he was a part of, so he could see the summary of it. And on the on the other end, if it was the owner or of the company, he can have user permission to access all of the meetings that were done, regardless of who the host email was. So for all of these permissions, I felt that software is the best choice. And this is what it would look like. For example, if Laura comes in, it's basically no code, and it really worked very well. So I'm just building it up now. So for example, it gives you the ability that if you are that you can show see like what permissions Emily has or what permissions David has. So the idea is that if David comes in, he will log in and all of this data will get populated with his details, and he will have access to all of these Zoom meetings which he conducted and he was a part of. So which overall streamlines the process very well. You can create client portals with the same features, you can create internal team portals and do a lot of more stuff.
Thank you so much for joining in. That's it for today. I hope there was lots of good learning for you. And together we can build amazing use cases with this technology. Thank you, and see you in the next one.